Why do I believe? Because when I read the gospel, I see that those words was the word of God, the word of light, the truth.
We're back exploring the big questions surrounding the meaning of Easter, redemption, and second chances. And helping us to continue wrestle out some answers is Bruxy Cavey, the teaching pastor at the Meeting House Group of Churches, and Reverend Ann Jervis, an Anglican priest and professor of the New Testament at Wycliffe College. Thank you for answering our questions today. And we're going to go back to the street first. Let's take a listen.
Where does the church stand today with forensic science today? Like, can we really go back and know the truth about what really happened?
Is there actual legitimate proof that it actually happened? I mean, there's a lot of people, a lot of hearsay, but is there legitimate proof that it actually that he did exist and it did happen?
Well, probably what sort of solid, concrete evidence there is that adds to the story, more that gives it relevance outside of the spiritual context.
Okay, lots of questions, but people would like evidence. So, Anne, what evidence do we have that Jesus actually physically rose from the dead?
Well, I guess I would say in response to some of those questions that basically show me the evidence, they're saying, is if we had a videotape taken by the most trustworthy videotaper in the world that showed Jesus rising from the tomb, would they be Christians? It's not simply that it happened and Christians believe that it happened. It's what does it mean that it happened? Wow. And Christians have a particular understanding of what it means that it happened, which is that what happened to Jesus will happen to us, and that what happened to Jesus means that now we can live as in an entirely different way as human beings.
Okay, you just jumped right to the punchline of Easter, but Bruxy, they still want to know, is there evidence? That was great, Anne.
Yes, and I think that sometimes when we approach this topic, people are using words differently. Some people say, I want proof. And I think the right word is evidence that you're using. And some people on the street said proof. Also, some people use the word scientific. What's the scientific word? I think that needs to be substituted with historical. What's the historical evidence as opposed to the scientific proof? That is, evidence is a cumulative argument, and historical evidence is not something you can currently go into the laboratory and test, but you work through documents and counter-arguments to put together the most plausible explanation. And the crazy thing is, the most plausible explanation is that something absolutely miraculous happened on Easter Sunday morning.
And we have so many eyewitness accounts of it in that early documentation.
Yes.
As someone who works in journalism, that's no problem with me on evidence. It's because of eyewitness accounts.
And we know at least this much from history, that people who were skeptics and doubters became followers when they had a personal encounter. Christ's own brother, James, who doubts him his whole life. I mean, you would too if your brother grew up saying, I'm the Messiah, actually, you should worship me. You're gonna have some sibling problems. But he ends up becoming a follower of his dead brother after the skeptic turns believer. What would it take for your brother to believe your God? You know, that something happened there.
All right, let's take a look at another clip. More questions from the street.
If he had the powers he had, why wouldn't he stop it? I guess that's what I'd ask. Stop them from killing him, yeah.
Why is there so much evil in the world on a growing basis and not declining? To me, if there was a higher power up there, you would see less and less of that in a better world. Sometimes I think we're going the other way.
Okay, so why is there evil in the world if God is so powerful? Bruxy, let's start with you.
What the Bible teaches is that God took the radical step of making us in His image and offering us free choice, to be free will agents who make choices. He left us in charge of the planet and encouraged us then to take care of things and to make free will choices that lead towards love instead of towards hate and death and destruction. Rather than blame God for what's happened to the creation, I think we need to first look in the mirror and say, the story is that we are people who make choices, and we make choices that end in a lot of pain, a lot of death and destruction, and our sin affects all of creation, not just each other's lives. But that is the radical risk that God took in making beings in His image.
It's going to be a big class in heaven, that whole free will class, I think. Okay, Anne, you're going to get the next comments from the street. Let's go to one of the, our final clip from the street.
I really think that according to the Bible, that He came and died for us and went to the cross and rise again, and now He's His Father, and I'm just waiting for Him to come back or do what disciples should do to take me with Him. That's all I believe in.
I guess we all look forward to the second coming of Christ.
When is He gonna come again? Like, He's supposed to come again. I don't know when He's gonna come. So That's the only thing I'm curious about.
Okay, that is true. Easter marks the resurrection of Jesus, and also the note, really evangelism begins that Jesus is one day coming back to judge the world and help us understand that issue. What's it like?
I wish I could. My faith says that God's business of healing the world, the high point of which to this point has been Jesus' cross and resurrection, but it is not finished. And we believe that there will be a time when God will be all in all, and the whole creation will sing, including us, and sing in a sense of completion and beauty and holiness. Everything will be perfect, but it is not yet now. Who knows when that will happen, but our faith is that it will.
Okay, so you think it's an evolving, not yet, but coming, and Bruxy, do you think it's an event?
Well, it's an event we're working towards. The beautiful thing about scriptural teaching is that the future should have an impact in how we live in the present.
Yes. So you're not going to say you're going to see him come down in the clouds like he did before.
However he wants to come, it's his business. I just want to be ready for it. The question then is not to sit around and philosophize what will the future look like only. The question is, how does the future, what we do know of it, impinge upon our present so that I'm no longer a product of my past. I'm not victimized by my past. Christians are those people who become products of our future. We're actually people who say, our future is just as certain as our past, so I am going to live with the future in mind. Who is God turning me into? Who does he want me to become? That's the way I'll start living today.
All right. Thank you both. It was just excellent. I think we're going to have to talk more like this on the web and offer some special parts there. So when we return, final thoughts on why something that happened 2,000 years ago offers the hope of second chances today. Stay tuned for The Wrap.